Hi, I'm Jane Cundiff. I teach biology at Radford University in Virginia, and I'm doing this PowerPoint as an update to what's happening in our ecosystem around the world. It's 2025 and things are getting pretty crazy, and I'm doing this to update my family, friends, and students around the world, but especially for the little town I live in. It's Floyd County, Virginia. So I'm starting with here we are on the earth, and here we are right here in this little town. But the information can be applied to any place around the world. You can make your own community anywhere. And did you know that community is the key to thriving? Research shows it is the #1 key to a long, healthy, thriving life. That is good relationships. No matter where you live, you can help strengthen relationships around you, relationships between people and nature. And that part's really important. Relationships with nature really helps us and helps keep our environment a lot better. Use your own unique talents to help others. Biodiversity is the key to the survival of any species, and all of us humans have something different to share at different times in our lives. And so use your talents to help others. Work with local groups that help strengthen your community. We are living in extraordinary times. It is time to make extraordinary efforts. Prepare for the worst and work towards the best. Be what you want to see. Spread kindness, compassion, community, and joy because they are contagious. Homo sapiens, we are a crazy species. Nature, God, evolved a very creative, intelligent creature with animal instincts to consume and reproduce, with little instinct to protect nature. Our own brains are our best friend and our worst enemy. We go totally crazy in our brains. We can imagine just about anything. And we've had a wonderful time creating all kinds of things. But the downside is we've made a little bit of a mess of the place. It is the best of times and the worst of times. It is the best of times because so many things have been invented. And also, just think of nature herself. She can see herself from the spaceships that we sent out in outer space, that view of the Earth. It's amazing, that total globe in one picture. These times we have so much more time to spend in nature because machines are out there growing our food. We can take time to go out in nature and we can take time to go on trips. One of the really coolest things is the way we can share all the way around the world. So we can share anything with our cell phones, even this little bitty thing we've got, we can share around the world what's going on. And that's good and that's bad, but it is amazing. There's also, we can travel anywhere too. And of course, that travel can cause some problems. And one of the things that's causing all the wonderful wild things we get to do is causing some havoc with nature. And as we break down nature, it is showing in the severe weather, in climate change, in toxic waste, and all kinds of things. So we live in the best of times and the worst of times. Every day there are amazing discoveries. Ants actually perform amputations on nestmates to save their lives. Trees warn other trees of danger. Dolphins can call each other by name. There are medical breakthroughs daily, all kinds of things to keep us healthier, to keep mom and pop and brother and sister all surviving and healthy and back in the game. Conservation measures have a positive effect in 2 out of 3 cases. Things are happening. The coolest thing, I think, is Earth can see herself from space, which may be why she created us to begin with. Who knows? And we're also wondering, and there's a lot of people doing research on this. Remember physics, when they get into cosmology and different dimensions and all kinds of things, and they are thinking about and wondering about, is consciousness the very basis of matter? We know that E equals mc squared. Is energy conscious? Who knows? We do know that extinction is happening, so these are one of the bad things. Civilization actually became unsustainable about 400 years ago. And we find that through looking through past history, through looking geological, what's happened in the temperature, in the environment, in how the earth is breaking down, how ecosystems are breaking down, and how many different species have gone extinct. We can see by this graph that in about the 1600s, extinction began to rise, and as the human population started to go a little bit crazy. Before that time, they were hanging in there one on one. They were doing okay. But as soon as the population reached about 1 billion or a little less than that, then extinction began to rise. And today, the human population is over 8 billion. It's almost 8.5. And we're really consuming about 100 times more than we did in the 1600s. It's pretty crazy. It actually took a lot of extra energy, which accelerated all that growth. And so that's what fossil fuels were all about. It has been a really great energy to help us have lots of fun. It accelerated population growth, consumption, creativity, and it also accelerated extinction. In 2024, this just came out. New York Times did it, and there was a lot of research that went into this, and it shows the mass of things that humans have made. Here's the size of the total mass of humans, and here's the size of all the kinds of things that humans have that are out there right now on our planet that per this block of humans. So if you could think of this as just me, then this means this is how much stuff that I have made or has been made for me that is on the earth. I mean, these are cubic forms. You can see that this would be a tremendous amount of concrete, a lot of concrete out there, just for me, because there's concrete in my house, there's concrete in the stores I go to, there's concrete in the factories that I get stuff from. There's tons of stuff, and this is all just for me. So we want to deny that. We want to say, oh, I just live simply. Well, not so. So, unfortunately, we've been having way too much fun, and energy is required for everything. And all energy degrades as heat. That's a second law of thermodynamics. So no matter how we spend this energy, so we've got energy in cruise ships, we've got energy in making food for us. All of our tractors have energy. No matter which way you use energy, whether it's solar energy, wind energy, or food energy, our bodies use food as energy, and it degrades as heat. You can feel your own body and know that it degrades as heat. So civilization is a heat engine. So no matter what kind of energy we use, heat is produced, and we've got a lot of it's getting really high and extra on the planet. So this is a little cartoon. It says, this is, imagine what we can do with this land, Lewis. And he says, I can almost see it now. And here it is, what they could do. So this is what we've done with land all over the world. So we've changed wild land into things that we find fun and interesting, and we think they're required for our human existence. Meanwhile, the wildlife population has plummeted by 73% in just the last 50 years. Imagine that, 73%. This is a pretty good graphic of wild animals. So these are just wild mammals. So this is the distribution of mammals on Earth. And these are wild mammals. Only 4% of the global mammals are biomass. The rest of the 62% is cattle, and then we have humans. So 34% of the global mammal biomass is human, and the rest is our mammals that are our food, our cattle, our cows, our horses, our goats, and a few of them are our pets. But there's hardly any wild mammals left. So this is what's happening. It's not just extinction, but it's a reduction of the numbers. And you know what happens in an ecosystem? You can often look at our own bodies and see how it works. If you have your body and you just kept taking little pinches out of it year after year, You wouldn't really notice a little bit here and there, but at some point, your body's going to break down and you're going to die, and you won't know what it was that kills you. Well, the same thing with our whole ecosystem around the earth. We just keep taking pieces out of it every place all over the globe, and it's breaking down now. And so we can't say, oh, it's just because we use fossil fuels, or just because we put out too much plastics, or just because of this or that. It's everything that's accumulation of all kinds of things that we've done. There really is no more wild because air is polluted and that air goes everywhere on Earth. And things have changed. Habitat has broken down. The biggest reason we've killed all kinds of animals around the Earth is because we've taken away their habitat and replaced it with agriculture, buildings, factories, and everything else. 15 billion trees are cut down every single year. The air, water, and soil are polluted. Habitat loss and the web of life is being destroyed. It's a cumulative assault over thousands of years. From the beginning of our civilization, we have no instinct to protect the nature around us. Other animals don't really have that either. All animals have the instinct to use the resources we have so that we can reproduce and consume. But humans just have this crazy brain and we get to do it a lot. We've got 9 planetary boundaries, and this is actually a little bit older picture. The ones today have got more ocean acidification in them. But notice the green circle in the center is a safe place, and everything outside of that is, well, we've crossed into unknown zones of destroying what's around us. This one up in here says, so this is crazy things we don't know about yet, essentially. So there's more than 9 planetary boundaries. We just haven't found them all yet, but these are some of the major ones. There are some very large positive amplifying feedbacks. And this is one of the problems that even many scientists are not getting right. Most scientists are pretty myopic. You know, they go into one field of research and they don't spread out. They don't really look at everything. And so they focus on the vanishing Arctic ice. And well, that's one thing that happens. But then we've got warming peat, wetland peat. We've got seafloor methane hydrates. We've got all kinds of things that are happening. And when one thing's happened, I mean, we live in a web of life. When one thing happens, it pulls the web of all kinds of things happening. We know that the warming gases in the atmosphere are not just CO2, but water is a warming gas. And the warmer it gets, the more water evaporates, the warmer it gets. And methane is a warming gas, and so is nitric oxide. And so are tons of other man-made chemicals that are out there. So all of these things are happening to cause the planet to warm up faster and to break down things. Water as water vapor has increased by about 7%. Methane is 80 times or more, as much as 100 times more powerful greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide is. And it comes from fossil fuels, from melting tundra, from ocean clathrates, which are deep in the ocean. And as the ocean warms, these things are released. And so methane is coming up, bubbling up from all over the place and causing warming to go even faster. And nitric oxides, these are out there. They come from fossil fuel burning, but also from agriculture, the nitrate consumption in our farming, and all kinds of other things. So there's lots of things that are happening. Global patterns are shifting. So here we've got, this is surface air temperatures anomalies. And so it's warming much faster in the Arctic and in a few other places. So different places in the world are warming faster than others. The ocean currents are changing, which is pretty big because I don't know if you remember your elementary textbooks where they've got these all these circles of how the global ocean currents move, and they usually overtop them with how the wind currents around. It all has to do with how our weather is affected. And if the circulations change, then that's going to totally change our weather. And the AMOC circulation, the Atlantic meridional oscillation current. So in the Atlantic, especially right now, we know we have the most research on that, that this is slowing down, and that will totally change the weather. It may get quite cold in Europe because this warm weather from the Gulf Stream isn't going to get there, and it may get quite warm at the in the more so in the tropics if this stops. So we don't really know. Things are changing. This is a heat anomalies in the 2023 and 2024 have gotten much hotter than ever, quite a bit of jump in the last 2 years. Also, the jet stream is dipping down more, and as that dips down, we get a lot more windstorms, a lot, a lot more, especially winter storms and wind that's happening there. We didn't ever even hear of derechos, uh, up until about 10 years ago. And then they just started popping up in different places. And those have a lot to do with that jet stream dipping down because of the temperature changes. There are over 25 known Earth system tipping points, and all are accelerating the breakdown. There's melting ice, which accelerates warming because as that white ice melts, the dark ocean absorbs heat more. There's forest loss, so as we cut down more forest to have more agriculture, then that forest can absorb the carbon dioxide. There's pollinator decline and extinction. When that happens, our plants die, and so they can't absorb carbon dioxide. The ocean temperatures rise, and when they do, then oxygen escapes from the ocean, and animals in the ocean die. There's low oxygen around the world, especially along coastlines where a lot of animals are dying, and there's not nearly as many as there used to be. And the ocean is also releasing more carbon dioxide. Then, as the temperature rises, that carbon dioxide goes back out into the atmosphere. Mangroves and coral reef lost. So those used to absorb a lot of carbon dioxide, but now they're emitting more because they're dying because of the heat getting higher. So each of these things feed back to the system, and it kind of just gets going and faster. Toxin pollution and overloads. You don't hear by it. You hear little pieces about toxins here and there, but a lot of toxic gases in the atmosphere. They may not be in really high amounts, each one of them, but they can affect warming, and they can also just kill things that if they're killing plants, then they're killing the organisms that would be part of our support system and that usually would absorb carbon dioxide, but they also feed us and give us oxygen. So the whole plant life thing is obviously pretty important. Climate can change abruptly. Now, this is some wild stuff I read about 20, maybe 30 years ago. You don't hear much about it, but there definitely some good ice core information. Some ice cores show that they've had in the past billions of years, they've had 10 degrees centigrade rise in less than 20 years. That's huge. That can happen. That has happened before. You can see these spikes. So from here, in this particular, the Permian glaciation, there was a rise in temperature almost in very, very short period of time that just came from these feedback mechanisms. Once they started to roll into place, then they just kept going and got really high fast. And so who knows when and why exactly that happens? We do know that we're way over here, and we know that human activities have totally changed the earth, and so we're getting a lot of changes, and this we're quite worried about this changing abruptly thing. It can change in 20 and it's in not too many years. So this is to me, one of the most telling graphs that we've got for 2023 and 2024. The temperature, this is the daily sea surface temperature around the world at 60 degrees south, from 60 degrees south to 60 degrees north, and all around the world. And so these are measured all over the world, and it's an average that's taken in the sea surface. And you can see how those went up from, it's got it down here at about 2007 or 8 is when they first started taking these temperatures. And now they just in the past, these are the past 2 years, these top two lines. And notice how big a jump there was just from 2022 to 2023 and 2024. And so we're quite concerned that that the warming is accelerating now, and I think this is telling them we're not going to cool down the ocean. So once the ocean starts getting this far above, it's already risen quite a bit above, but now there is a jump, and so that really looks like we're accelerating, not a good thing. And then there's also all these other chemicals. There's forever chemicals, there's plastics, nanoplastics, exhaust fumes, cleaners, pesticides, sewage, factory waste, etc. There's toxic waste everywhere. It's in our air, water, and soil. It's in the cells of your body. It's in the cells of my body and every living organism. All your pets and all the plants out there, all those poor plants who had nothing to do with it, are breathing in that stuff. And then everything we buy increases the burden, because whenever anything is burned, that puts it into the atmosphere. When a factory is made, any kind of factory exhaust is going into the atmosphere. So toxic waste is everywhere. And then there's the fairy tales. Nobody wants to hear all this stuff. It sounds pretty extreme, and it is. And so, everybody as soon as they hear, oh, well, alternative energy, it's going to solve something, and our recycling, it's going to solve something, and we all want to solve this, and it really is too late. Things have gone way beyond, and it's about 400 years too late, maybe more. It's about the whole idea of what civilization just continues to grow, that we continue to destroy the earth, and so that we can have too much fun. And so there's these we jump on the bandwagons, and people, really want to do the right thing. But alternative energy is still energy. It's just another way of doing the same things we've been doing. It's really not going to solve the problems. All energy degrades as heat. Recycling, well, recycling in nature is wonderful. A bear goes under an apple tree, eats the apple, and poops on the ground, and that's recycling. That's totally natural, awesome for the environment. But when a human goes to the grocery store and buys something, and so they've gone in a car and they've got something and they recycle it. It goes into a bin somewhere that had to be made by a factory. There has to be another factory to recycle it, and they put it in trucks and ship it all around. That's not recycling. Come on. It's not sustainable. There's really nothing that is sustainable for 8 billion people. We like dietol and hopium. They're wonderful drugs. I use them frequently. So, and I suppose that you probably do too. If it requires factories, mining, and transport, it probably is not very good for the earth. There is evidence of big ecological breakdown. The Amazon rainforest emits more carbon dioxide now than it absorbs. In 2023 and 24, the ocean surface temperatures rose dramatically. The Arctic tundra has gone from a carbon sink to a carbon source. The forever chemicals and plastics are around the world, and many of them are hormone disruptors and will affect plants, animals, every living thing on Earth. Microplastics are actually found in our brain and in blood samples of healthy adults. They are in plants, water, soil, and they are everywhere. 2023 was extremely hot, and then came 2024. Hurricane Helene and record fires, floods, thousands of tragedies happened from the breakdown of our environment around the world. 2023 was much worse than scientists predicted, and 2024 was even worse than that. Not good news. And as places become uninhabitable, there will be migration. Goodness, what are you going to do with your family? You got to get them away from the floods and the fires and everything else. And so all these things are affecting places around the world. This is a map of if the world was 4 degrees centigrade warmer, which it's heading towards fairly quickly, then these are places that would be uninhabitable. So these brown places here, that's basically places where there are already deserts, and those deserts would increase, or they are places along coastlines where they will be flooded, or there will be places where there's too many fires. So there's uninhabitable regions, and people are going to be moving on the move. And then there's powerful artificial intelligence. It's a wonderful thing, I think, for discovering, monitoring, and fixing the earth and humans. We have doctors that can actually do operations in another country through artificial intelligence. They can do it through remote access um, to scalpels and things that are connected to machines, and artificial intelligence can do it. It's really amazing. And we can go outside the earth and look at this is methane emissions in different parts of the earth. So this is we can pinpoint now who's doing that and stop it if we can. So artificial intelligence can be powerfully wonderful and also powerfully destructive. So we know that people are hacking into these things from around the world, that they're doing all kinds of bad things. So I don't know. It's anything powerful is either powerfully good or powerfully bad. So we need to get a handle on it. Yuval Harari is one of my favorite authors, and he's just put out a new book. I haven't read it, but I'm interested. So he's kind of the guru of artificial intelligence these days. The awesome complexity of life. This is a picture of some scientist that did a lot of research and sat down. One little tiny dot here on the left-hand side, this organism connects to all of these others. And that's what happens when we have an animal or a plant that goes extinct. The whole web breaks down. That web for that particular organism breaks down. And as we keep taking each of these dots, we really put our web into shreds. And the system is so complex. This is impacts of remediation. So this is where people are trying to make things better. We're trying to plant trees and put mangroves back into business and all kinds of things. And some of them are quite successful, these great big dots here. And some of them can be quite destructive. There's some red dots here that are pretty big too. And that means it's really destructive. So we have to be careful what we do sometimes. You know, if we go plant trees in a desert, you've used a lot of energy and killed a lot of trees because they're not going to grow in the desert. So it's the life is totally complex. This is inside a single cell, by the way. So one single cell, your single cell, we still don't know everything that goes on inside of one single cell. So how can we pretend to know what's happening in a complex ecosystem? And we know that everything must die to create the new. Life and death has always been part of the system. Everything has to die. Imagine if all of our ancestors were still here today, it'd be way more crowded than it is right now. So as things die, as people die, they then all of our atoms have been here from the beginning, and they will be here till the end. The atoms get moved on into something else, and they keep recreating. Ancient civilizations have come and gone. Every civilization has, started from scratch and built a beautiful civilization, and then just for one reason or another, they crashed. And there's been a lot of research on how long it takes till a civilization crashes. And now we have a global civilization, and so when that crashes, okay, we're in trouble. One thing's that a bit of a problem. People are focused on carbon tunnel vision. That's they just look at carbon emissions and want to just like close down all the fossil fuel. Well, that's just one little thing. Like I said, any kind of energy produces heat. It's overpopulation. That's a big star on this one. That really is the basis of everything because that's what uh, as our population grew, we had to destroy the environment to build our houses and our factories and our trucks and everything else. We really want to fix this. People want to fix this, but it's too late, really. All we can do, civilization colossus, is simply not sustainable. There really is no safe place. And so we are in this together. The United States had just 2 flood disaster declarations in 2000. But in 2024, there were more than 66. This was Hurricane Helene in 2024. We're all quite familiar with that around here. And it hit Floyd just a little bit, but all of our neighbors over in North Carolina, and it's just totally devastated. And people are still without homes and living in little RVs, and people were getting together and helping each other, but it was a terrible hurricane. Floyd had its own little disaster in Tuggles Gap Fire in 2023, and these things are just going to be changing and going to be as the earth gets hotter. Everything moves faster. It's not only all of our systems getting warmer and more storms are happening because of the hot air and the movement of things around the earth, but it also makes our brain a little crazy, and it's affecting us too. So we have to be aware of that. So we have a plan. So there's lots of things to have a plan about. And one of the things is just heat on our own personal body. Heat killed 68,000 people in Europe in 2022. And the heat deaths in people over 65 have rocketed by 167%. So we have to pay more attention. How many of you are 1 year older than you were last year? Well, okay, me and all my friends. And when you as you get older, you're more susceptible to heat. And you also, um, we know only what we can remember. And we remember, last year we were fine, but now we're a year older. We might be a little bit more susceptible to heat. And if you're 10 years older than you were 10 years ago, no, you are definitely going to be 10 years older and a little bit more susceptible. You can actually die at temperatures in the low 80s. It's about your body temperature. So if the outside temperature is 85, which is not bad if you're sitting around, just taking a nice walk, that's a pretty decent temperature. But if you're running a marathon, this is why they don't have marathons when the temperatures get over 80. You can actually die because it's your body heat. If you're working really hard outside, lifting logs, working on the farm, just too heavy working when the humidity and temperature is high, you can have heat exhaustion or even heat stroke. And once you start having heat stroke, you can die fairly rapidly. So know the symptoms, know the signs. Heat exhaustion might be dizziness, thirst, heavy sweating, nausea, and weakness. But by the time you get to confusion and dizziness, then you can get into heat stroke. So know your own body, pay attention to it, and drinking water helps, but it's not going to stop it. You can drink as much water as you want, but if your body temperature gets too high, you will die. So be aware of heat. The heat will kill you first. It's the most that as far as weather things that kill people, the heat does more than any other weather adventure. Some of the big truths, well, our web of life is breaking down. The sixth mass extinction is well underway. Billions of people are simply not sustainable. There are 80 million people added every single year. So we haven't stopped our reproduction. People are still adding, and it's just too many. We've overloaded the system. Our atoms are immortal. They're always creating anew. And so as we live and die and move around, the cycles of life will continue. It is a privilege to have a human brain. You are more than you. We are part of this web of life. We are part of this massive energy. We are all part of this massive energy. Our communities matter because they are part of us, and today matters. So that's all we have really is today in our life. And so living your life as fully as you can, working with community and each other is important. Also recognizes the stages of grief. So I've gone through these stages plenty of times and sometimes on a daily basis. The first stage is denial. Oh, we all want to just deny that problems are happening. The second one is anger and blame. So people want to blame the fuel companies. They want to blame their neighbors. They want to blame this and that, or get angry at them. And then the third stage is bargaining. If we only, the big we's like, try to change the entire globe by saying that. It's not going to happen. Depression. Well, things are pretty bad. I can get depressed. I try to not stay depressed. And so depression happens. You'll see it in yourself. We all will see it. And as things change more dramatically, we'll go through these stages of grief over and over and over again. Every one of us will do them. And so recognize them. Recognize you're working through it until you get to acceptance. And even at acceptance is, it might be just temporary as you accept it. But living fully and thriving is what we really want to work towards. We want to do that no matter what. So what can we do? We can harness our crazy creative energy. We can learn, share, communicate, and appreciate. We can improve our rural living skills. And this is especially for my little community, but anywhere you live, if you live in the city of New York, improve your little skills of, uh, of how to preserve and collect water, of eating healthy food, different kinds of things. So improve your skills. You can garden. Everybody can have a little pot of something growing. And of course, if you've got some land, you can have a nice big garden. This is my garden right there. Isn't that pretty? And then we can preserve and restore biodiversity. So we can do that by planting trees or our gardens even. So that helps bring pollinators in. It helps just even in a little garden, even a little plant might help some pollinators to survive. And especially community with each other and with nature. So get your friends together in nature. So I run a wild garden club. I love it when I get all these folks together. We just basically hang out and talk about our gardens and about nature. We can sing, dance, share. We can celebrate life. We can do these still now. You're alive right now. Just do it. So survival and thriving require community. We can't survive on our own for very long at all. So prepare for Tuesday, not for doomsday. We need healthy air, water, food, and shelter. We need family, community, nature, and connections. We need to improve our work and our play relationships. We can learn more skills. We can have emergency plans. We can spare and share our knowledge and experience. Spread radical kindness and compassion. It's contagious. Keep doing it. We can have music, dancing, singing, gardening, hiking, sports. We can work hard, live hard, pray hard, dance hard. In Floyd, we're doing a 2025 year of rural living skills workshops. And so we're just starting to get this together. This is an example of what we're doing in Floyd, all kinds of things that you can think about. We're working together with different groups around town. I also work with Partnership for Floyd. And this is an email, partnershipforfloyd@gmail.com. If you're interested, I can send you some information as we go along and tell you how we're doing it here. And you can do these kinds of things in your own backyard. So we're getting people together. We're trying to coordinate these workshops across our community. Everybody wants to help, and we really want to gather that energy together and coordinate it so we get that information out there so people know how they can help, how they can share their own skills, and how they can increase their own skills. So we've got things like old timer tips. That'll be fun. So we've got some old timers that'll tell us about how they live around here in nature. So we need to thrive in our dance of life. It is a privilege to be born with the human brain, whether we live to be 2 or 102, to learn, to share, to live, and to die with love and compassion. Our atoms will be here forever, always creating anew. So have plans, stay healthy, and get involved. E=mc². We are part of that same energy. We are all part of that energy. Some people just say one love, and I think love really, that we're all part of the same thing. We better love it. It's a good, and as love spreads, things get better. We were made for these times. That's got to be it. Nature made you. Here we are. God made you for these times. You can do this. We are in this together. We have got this. So I hope you enjoy your life in 2025. Thank you.